If you're unfamiliar with it, Snapchat is an app that people can download for free on their phones, or tablets, or anything else. The basic point of Snapchat is to share pictures and videos with friends to let them know what's going on in your life. In essence, it's basically like Facebook, but centered more around pictures and videos of one's life rather than posts or media. I don't use Snapchat much myself, but I do have it installed on my phone just to see what's going on in my friends' lives, as well as send out the occasional snap to some of my close friends of what I'm eating or whatever else is around me. I also occasionally receive snaps from my friends as well. You know, typical stuff. Anyways, it was just last week when I received some pretty weird snaps from an unknown sender. It was a Wednesday night, and I was in my room studying for a midterm I had that week. To give you the full context as to why these snaps weirded me out so much, I have to let you know a little about myself. I'm currently a college student in my junior year, and I live alone in my apartment close to campus. It's within walking distance of the school, which is nice, as I don't have to go through the trouble of finding parking. The cost of living in my city is pretty low, and I value my privacy a lot and hate living with roommates. I did that in my freshman year of college, and I'll never do that again. Which is why I choose to live alone, considering how I could afford it. Many of my friends also either lived on campus or in other apartments nearby, so I was never lacking for company. The apartment itself isn't very large. It's small, but cozy, and has everything a college student living on his own could ask for. A kitchen, bathroom, living room, and 2 small but comfortable bedrooms. I'm a pretty big geek, so most of my apartment is filled with various superhero and video game merchandise that I've collected over the years. One piece of merch I was particularly proud of was a Superman figure I had purchased from a comic book shop for only $30. It was a steal, and I had it on the dresser in my room. Basically, to sum things up, I'm a college student who lives alone in a small apartment. Back to the main topic at hand. Like I said, it was Wednesday night and I was in my room studying when I received a notification on my phone. Opening it up, I realized that I'd gotten 3 snaps on Snapchat. However, what was weird about these snaps was that they were from an unknown sender. On Snapchat, I mainly snap with 3 of my friends who are avid Snapchat users, and by now, I had practically memorized what their usernames were. This username was entirely different, and it was new to me. It made me curious. I have heard stories of how people have gotten weird snaps from strangers before, but it had never happened to me until now. I should have just deleted them and blocked the unknown user right there and then, but the curiosity got the better of me. I regret ever opening those snaps. Looking back now, it probably would have been a good idea to take screenshots of a few of those snaps I had received to perhaps use as some form of evidence. But the idea had never crossed my mind until now as I typed this. The first snap I received was strange, but nothing too out of the ordinary. It was a picture of a lawn of grass, and it was too close up to see where this lawn of grass was. The second snap was where things started to get strange. It was a video, and the entire screen went black, as if the person recording the snap was covering his phone's camera with his hand. However, that wasn't the weird part. The weird part was the weird whistling I heard. I don't know how to quite explain it, but it sounded like as if he was putting his whole mouth really close to the phone, and whispering in a convoluted, jumbled mess. The third snap sent chills down my spine. It was the snap of a door, but not just any door. It was the front door of my apartment complex I lived in. The one where everyone walks into on their way to their rooms. Whoever was sending me these snaps, he was in a nearby vicinity. After I was done viewing the snaps, I immediately sent a message to the person using Snapchat's messaging feature. I had simply said, "Who are you?" A few seconds after I sent the message, I could see from the app's screen that he had opened it. There's a feature on Snapchat that allows you to see whether or not someone has opened your snap or read your message. Whoever he was, he had obviously been waiting a response from me. I held my breath and waited for a few seconds for this mysterious person to respond, but there was no response. After waiting for about 5 minutes, I simply closed the app and put my phone down. At the time, I remember I simply had no idea what to do. I looked out my window and didn't see anything out of the ordinary, or any weird figure standing on the street below or anything like that. Truth be told, at the time my midterm was my main thing on my mind. And so, after closing the blinds to my windows and making sure my door to the apartment was locked, I went back to studying. I didn't receive any more weird snaps from this mysterious sender, and the event eventually left my mind. I was pretty busy, as I had a pretty rigorous course load and was frequently loaded with essays and other reading assignments. So I didn't have much time to contemplate this. It wasn't until last night, Monday night, that I received more snaps. These ones were the ones that truly began to make me panic. I was reading an assigned reading for my literature class when I suddenly received 2 notifications from Snapchat. I had received 2 snaps once again from the mysterious person that had snapped me last week. Again, looking back, I wish I had taken a few screenshots of these snaps, but the thought didn't come across me until now. I'm gonna continue to kick myself even now. The first snap was eerily similar to the one with the whispering I had received last week. It was pretty much the same thing, except the whispering sound a lot faster and more excited, I guess you could say. The second snap was the one that truly frightened me. This was a snap that made me realize that something was very, very wrong, and that whomever was sending these was a bigger threat than I originally anticipated. At first, when I looked at the snap, it took a few moments before I knew what I was looking at. And then it sunk in. It was a picture of a door frame, with the person taking the snap pointing his phone at it from the darkness of the hallway. Light was streaming from the room that the door frame led to, and I could make out a few pieces of furniture, including a bed, a dresser, and a Superman figure on top of the dresser. I then realized that I was looking at a picture of my room. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand up as I began to realize what was going on. I vaguely remembered that I tend to leave the door to my room open. I slowly turned around, half expecting someone to stand in the door staring right at me. But there was no one there. I slowly rose from the chair and began inching toward the doorway. Looking out into the rest of my apartment, I saw that there was no one there either. I spent the next hour or so searching my apartment for any signs of intrusion, but there was nothing. I suddenly felt my phone vibrate in my hand, which I realized I had been holding the entire time. I had received another snap from the mysterious sender. It was a video. My fingers began shaking. I opened the snap and yet another obscured video with the whispering in the background. This time, The whispering was very loud and filled my entire apartment with noise. I didn't get to sleep at all that night. I just sat in my bed, every light on in my small apartment, a kitchen knife in my hand and my phone in the other. Nothing else out of the ordinary occurred. It started out as a pretty normal night. Got home from the daily soccer practice, ate a few bowls of Lucky Charms, or whatever sugar-filled delicacy was in my pantry. Then pulled out my phone to see if anyone wanted to be social. Like normal, nothing. No texts, no Twitter notifications, and more recently, no snaps. For those who are not too tech-savvy and aren't aware with this app, it allows you to send pictures to your friends for a couple of seconds. Usually after the late night games of FIFA, there would usually be 1 or 2 snaps from good friends, but nothing too spectacular. Until that night. I had just finished my 9th game of FIFA and it was about 1:15 in the morning. Considering that it was Tuesday and I had an important bio test the next day, I figured I should probably catch some sleep. But of course, not without checking the Snapchat. With my eyes barely able to stay open now, I managed to open up the app, and like usual, no notifications. I wasn't bothered too much, and honestly the only thing I was thinking about was the sleep I desperately needed. So, I shut off the phone, plugged it into the charger, and fell deep asleep. The next morning was like any other. Woke up at 5:30. Thought of several excuses of why I shouldn't go to school, but eventually convinced myself to get up. My main motivation being breakfast. As I rolled over to unplug my phone, it was unplugged from the charger already, and placed next to me on my bed. Unlike the shelf on my dresser where I believe I left it last night before. But I disregarded this, thinking I just knocked it in my sleep or something. However, as I turned on my phone, I saw a sight that I am so unused to seeing. 12 Snapchat notifications. Did I really just become the most popular guy at school overnight? As I opened up my Snapchat to see who they all were from, the names varied from people I haven't seen since grade school, to the bomb brunette who lives a few doors down. What could they possibly be snapping me for? Reluctant at first, I opened up each snap one by one, amazed by the same shocked facial expressions that every single person had, and the same words that every person had written. Who's that man laying next to you? This timeline of events is fairly brief. The first thing that happened was that 2 days ago or so, an unknown user on Snapchat snapped me a photo of his dong. Normally, this would not raise too many flags. What does that say about present-day society? Because I'd heard many an anecdote about friends receiving dong snaps from unknown senders. However, my next decision sent the situation into a downward spiral. I made the mistake of humoring this creep. I sent a reply snap of my face, captioned, "Who sends dong pics to randos?" or something to that effect. He replied, not until 2 days later, so earlier tonight, with a nearly identical photo to the first dong pic, captioned, "Well, let's get to know each other better." From there, we exchanged a couple more snaps, mostly me flipping this person off and being generally snarky. But what was kind of weird here was the fact that all subsequent snaps he sent were photos of his dong, all from the exact same standing angle in the exact same location, a bathroom floor with a blue rug underfoot. even though the exchange went on for about a half an hour. I don't know why I kept responding. I wish I had just blocked him. Now, things started getting extra bizarre. He claimed he knew me, and he was surprised that I didn't recognize his dong, because, allegedly, I had been riding it all night. The snaps now consisted of nothing but a black background with text. Now, the thing to know about me is that I've had sex with exactly 5 people in my lifetime, and each of them I knew intimately and have been dating. I do not have random hookups that I subsequently forget. I'm not a crazy partier and don't get drunk to the point of blacking out entire nights or events. But this person was admittedly insisting that he went down on me and we had sex. He claimed to remember my cute little landing strip, at which point I told him I knew he was lying just to get nudes or whatever else, since I've never groomed myself in that fashion. He persisted, so I asked for proof that we had indeed met and hooked up. He proceeded to tell me that he had attended a local college in my city, and correctly named the college I attended. He said we met out a certain strip of bars, which I do incidentally frequent, just before graduation. This was a few months ago, but as I only go out to bars in about 3 different neighborhoods, it was definitely a possibility I had been celebrating at this particular one before my graduation. However, I have absolutely no recollection, none, of hooking up with anyone during this time, much less having sex with them. The unknown Snapchatter then correctly named the location of 3 different moles on my body. Can this just be some bizarre coincidence? I do not forget people I've hooked up with, because, as I've said, they are few and far between and I am very sexually reserved. So at this point, I broke, and told the person they were making me upset and to either reveal who they were or leave me alone. They didn't respond. I don't know how to tell if someone has blocked you on Snapchat. I'm fairly sure they did after this, because their handle no longer showed up in my recent added list, and a second snap I'd sent continued to show up as unread. Maybe I'm overreacting, but I'm genuinely scared. When this person revealed these intimate details they somehow knew about my body, I started crying. How is this possible? All possibilities I can think of are equally terrifying, which right now are pretty much. This is someone I once dated who was deliberately messing with my head for whatever reason. I had sex with someone at a bar and have 100% zero recollection of doing so. This has never happened to me before and I'm relatively tame. I never get blackout drunk and never ever have sex with strangers. Was I drugged? Is something severely wrong with my memory? There's a person who has somehow been watching me closely enough to know bars I frequent, the college I attend, and certain minute aspects of my physiology, as well as my middle name. But that's a part of my Snapchat handle. Are there possibilities I'm missing? Please, help me out. I'm genuinely afraid and upset, and at this point, I don't know where else to turn. Who is this person, and why are they deliberately screwing with me? I never lock my bedroom door, but tonight, I think I will. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I appreciate it a lot. And if you want to hear more scary stories in the future, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Thank you, and even donate to my Patreon if you're feeling generous. Thank you.